Welcome to the Nintendo Stuff Podcast, where you can't see Logan's face because I didn't put him on the screen. There he is. Welcome to
I'm
the
back.
show, everybody.
Ooh.
Welcome to Ear Biscuits. This is the round table of dim lighting.
Yeah, I figured out what was wrong with my light. It was blinking very quickly and it was very annoying. Though I am grateful I'm not an epileptic because it could have been worse. Um, Turns out though, I switched the bulbs and I've located the issue, and it's with the bulb. So I just have to buy a new bulb. So that's good
Oh,
news.
good to know. Well, I'm glad it wasn't anything worse.
Yeah, man. I mean, I was like, I don't want to have to try to fix this or try to buy a new one, but I'm like not even sure. Like, could I just replace the part? But now I don't even have to worry about that. Just buy a new bulb and be done with it.
Good. Well, that makes it easy. Well, at the
So
very
hopefully I
least, you
won't.
don't look terrible in your current lighting.
I know. I mean, I just look good. I'd like to note that I'm repping some alma mater right here. It's been a minute
I was
since
repping
I
a
wore
work
this.
uniform and almost got on live broadcast with it.
Oh,
And then I was like, oh, probably shouldn't be wearing that.
yeah, I don't like to wear anything too identifying, especially when it's like my work. Like I don't like all this, I used to work, I'll say this, I used to work for a company called PSAV. I don't anymore. But every time I would get online, I mean, we've been doing this. I was working there when we started doing this, but now I don't. I still have the PSAV shirts. I don't wear them though, because what's the point? So
Yeah, we are doing a Nintendo Stuff podcast here on Monday, Conman. Thanks for noting that.
yeah,
We
it
were.
got pushed back and then pushed back some more.
The
But
problem
I
with
mean,
Sunday is that I just forgot. I'm gonna be completely honest with
yeah,
you.
I think it was a combination because I definitely didn't come to you to say, "Hey, this whole Sunday thing, like, let's make it
You
happen."
should have said something because it
So
was just gone.
no, I think it's okay because I think the fact that both of us were like, meh, I think that was the universe just saying, put it off till Monday. And here we are. Here we are. And just like Nintendo, we like to delay things at least twice so they're up to snuff. So I think that's what everybody's going to get tonight.
Yeah, this is a belated Mario Day podcast. Mario Day was yesterday,
Yesterday.
and we didn't even like time it out to be like that. But that's the way it is. I love that Nintendo has a dedicated Mario Day, March 10th.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, it's the universe speaking. That's what it is.
It comes with some nice discounts on games. They had a deal that if you bought a brand new Nintendo Switch, you could get one of 5 different Super Mario games for 50% off, including Super Mario Odyssey and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
I love the things that Nintendo does for like deals because Nintendo never puts their stuff on sale. It's like, this is what you're getting, right? You
Yeah,
have to pay the $60. When they do a deal, it's like, okay,
you do.
very short, very controlled. It's not often, right? And if it is like $15 cheaper, you're like, whatever. It's almost like people really cheapen the value of a product by like making it like dropping the price too early, right? It's one thing if you just launch at $20 and
Yeah.
you just keep it for $20 like for a long time. It's another to be like, oh, it's $60, and then like a year later it's just going to drop in price, with just willy-nilly. And I'm like, I don't know, like, you could probably just keep it at 60. I mean, eventually people will just start discounting it here and there. And I mean, maybe for some products it's just good to just cut the price like permanently,
Hmm.
to a certain amount.
Yeah,
For example, you went out and you bought a game the other day,
I did.
and then that prompted me to buy that said game for myself, which resulted in a stream that you can go watch on this channel. It's up on the VOD,
The
right?
VOD is still on the channel. We did it yesterday for Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate. And funnily enough, we did it one day before the 15th anniversary of the Monster Hunter series, which we didn't even
Yeah.
realize.
So, I mean, technically, I've already played Monster Hunter today because I was up late, and so I was up there like 1 in the morning doing some solo missions. So I've already played today. I'll probably play some more because it's what I was gonna do when I got home anyway if I wasn't doing this, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty much in the same boat, though I do have some extracurricular work I have to be doing. Right?
Oh, certainly. I mean, you got to make sure that you're getting the responsible stuff done as well. I certainly have some responsibilities that I've been neglecting. Partially, I feel like there's been a part of me that's been neglecting even the break room a little bit. I've noticed lately, just because like my life's kind of in disarray. But I've had a particularly good day, and I'll tell you this: the one really good decision I made today that really panned out was having breakfast. I'm really bad about having breakfast, and so this morning when I walked out the door, I'm like, I gotta eat something, and so I grabbed a banana, and that's how I started my day. Even though I woke up um, not as early as I would have liked to get to work. We'll say that. And but that I think that banana really really turned around my day. I've been having a rough week. So everybody needs to just eat a banana if they had a bad day the day before. Just get some
Unless
good sleep, eat a banana when you wake up, and I think you'll probably have a better day than you did the day before.
unless you
Hopefully.
don't like bananas and or are
Unless
allergic, can you be allergic to bananas?
I think you can be allergic to bananas. Also, bananas are really carbolicious. They got a lot of sugars in them.
Yes,
So if
bananas will
you're,
make my sugar spike, even though they're
yeah,
only
so
about 20 carbs per banana, which isn't a lot.
yeah. But I mean, for most people, like a banana is a good way to start your day because, like, I think it's better to get like a bigger carb dump like at the beginning of the day because you're going to use that, right? Uh, and then it's only a banana, like,
For
and
me,
it
my
tastes great.
carb dump needs to be minimal carb in the morning, big carb for lunch, little carb for dinner. So
Oh,
lunch is basically where I get to load my body with big carbs.
yeah, big big carbs.
So speaking of big cardboard, we've got some interesting news from Nintendo. The Labo VR kit was announced. This is something Logan and I talked about just a few weeks ago, so it's interesting to see it come to fruition so soon.
I have some opinions on this one. I think this was a hot topic. I was like, "Oh my god, they did it." Like they were like, "We're going to tame the beast." Like this is I mean, technically it feels like Nintendo's first foray
It
into
is,
VR.
but
Very
it's
primitive,
certainly
but
not
very
their solution, which I think people
dude,
seem to be mixing
I
up.
mean, this is just Google Cardboard.
Yeah, it's Google
Like
Cardboard.
Google was like, "Hey, we're gonna do VR. Let's do Google Cardboard." So you could watch, videos in 3D. Like it was just something that could be done.
Yep, they're
And so now
splitting a
people,
720p display into two viewpoints that are separated by
yeah,
a set of goggles. That's all it is.
but people are used to 3DS visuals. So I mean, it's kind of what we're getting here in a lot of ways. I think, but this might even be more so.
This is the way
Uh,
that we had been anticipating Nintendo to handle VR by
yeah.
inserting the Switch into a heads-up display.
Yeah, so I'm honestly the thing I'm interested in here is could you potentially give us 3D visuals for certain games, like other games? Maybe even it's just like 3DS ports of some sort, right?
Kid Icarus Uprising.
Yeah. Oh, that would be great. I mean, and then you could just play with the controller like a normal person. Or you could use the Switch Joy Cons. I don't know.
Yeah,
There's a myriad of ways they could do that, and then they wouldn't even have to upres that game, but you could like, oh, if you just want to play it like it looks like on a 3DS, except it's on your head, let's do that.
I guess they
So
wouldn't. I mean, the 3DS displays in 240p, so I mean, it would be slightly higher resolution than that.
right,
But let's talk about some of the actual games that we'll be seeing in it, or rather, not the
do
games,
we
but the accessories.
do we have to?
Yeah, we do.
There's some zany ones in here. I'm not trying to rip on Labo because obviously this is aimed towards a much younger demographic.
All the
And I
people
could
comparing this to PSVR and HTC Vive. I'm
Yeah,
like, what are you
it's
doing?
no, this is Google Cardboard, except a little bit more primitive and
Guys,
more just it's a
relax.
toy.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
toy. Like if I was anticipating like Metroid Prime 4 to be supported by Labo VR, then I'd have a problem.
Yeah.
But I don't. So I don't have a problem.
Yeah, people just need to chillax. They just need to. And that being said, like I don't know if I actually want everybody to relax because it is entertaining, right? It's sometimes fun to see discourse. Um, Maybe I'm a little more on that edge, right? But ultimately, there's no reason to freak out. It is what it is. You don't have to buy it, guys. And if you want VR, there's other options. You could buy PSVR, guys. If you got a PS4, those things go on sale. You could probably get that for 250 or less.
Yeah,
If you already have a PS4.
it's fine, guys. Don't
Yeah,
worry.
it's okay.
The Labo set, there's a starter set that comes with just the headset or the headset display and the Blaster Toy-Con, which retails at $39.99. Which is a great entry price. If you're just curious, that's not bad. If you want the whole shebang, which comes with the blaster, the headset, the bird, the camera, this other thing, I don't even know what it is, and the elephant, and that's
Well,
$79.99.
I think out of these, I'm a really big fan of what's happening with this camera.
I think the camera is like the centerpiece of this whole
I
setup.
mean, I think that's why it's right up in center because it
Literally in the
just kind of
center.
makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So I wonder what you're seeing or what you could even do with that.
You know how many tweets I've seen saying that it should be Pokemon Snap?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. They'd be able to pull that off like pretty easily.
Yeah.
I mean, because literally, like the camera would create like a rough image, right,
Mm-hmm.
of like your surrounding, and then they could just translate that into an environment, and then just throw Pokemon in it.
Yeah, and it looks like the red Joy-Con, the IR sensor camera is sticking outwards, so I wonder if that'll play into it at all.
Well,
And it
that's
all,
what I was saying. That's
yeah.
what I'm saying. Like the IR camera is like actually imaging what's out there.
Mm-hmm.
So
There's
I think this is really cool.
there's
This is.
also you can turn it, so I'm assuming that's for focus and zoom. Having that kind of like tactile feedback, that's super cool.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but I think if we look at the image a little bit closer here, we can see some things surrounding the different Toy-Cons that I think are a little bit telling. So around the Toy-Con camera, we can see fish. So I'm wondering if it's a underwater, like, marine life photography minigame.
Oh yeah, maybe you're gonna like a submarine or something like
Yeah,
that.
and that's assuming it's just one game per Toy-Con, because there could be more.
Oh, absolutely. I
The
mean, there's a myriad of things you could take pictures of.
I think the blaster is pretty self-explanatory. There's a picture of a missile there, so I'm guessing it's a shooting minigame of some kind.
Like a tank.
Yeah. Then
Like
there's
you're inside tank.
the bird that lets you kind of flap the wings, which I think is kind of cool. You are
Yeah.
looking to its butt, which is pretty funny. But I'm assuming like if you flap the wings, you're in a first-person perspective in the bird, and you flap your wings to go up and down.
Right. By
So
actually physically moving.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that would be a cute game. I don't know so much what's going on with this upper right corner one, or even what that's supposed to be.
That looks just like an image viewer,
Oh, you know what
like
that is? That's the headset without anything attached to it. Just
oh
like the
yeah, so I
basic
mean there might
the
just be
goggles.
like
Yeah.
things you can watch. Like if you just want to use it as like a Google Cardboard device of sorts, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So
And then this elephant is pretty
elephant, yeah.
interesting. They're
Yeah,
showing like
I'm
a
not.
drawing game.
Yeah, it looks like it. Maybe you're an elephant and you draw things.
Honestly, that's Super
See how I
Nintendo, and I love it.
extrapolated that from the information that they gave us? I think it's pretty genius.
I kind
Wow.
of love
Logan
this, to
said it
be
here
honest.
first.
I depending on the experiences built into this, I might pick up at the very least like the base set just to see what it's all about.
Mm-hmm.
Because I like the idea, and if I could just have the goggles, if the goggles could be used in multiple ways, like outside of Labo, then it's just worth it having it for that on its own.
Yeah.
And the goggles themselves look to be of a nice quality. Like the actual goggle set is made of plastic,
Yes.
surrounded
Yeah.
by cardboard.
Right,
You can't
the
strap it to your
lenses.
face. You
Not
have to
yet.
you have to hold it to your head.
Man, no, see now they need like an actual head, like they need a strap, and then they need to combine it, right? You need a second set of Joy-Cons and combine it with the robot.
Now you're talking.
That's what needs to happen. And then you put
maybe
the
they'll make
IR camera
attachment.
on the front, which projects it onto the area around you and it creates the environment. I think it's genius.
Well,
It's
you would
amazing.
need two right Joy-Cons to do that. Because
Well,
you have one in each hand.
yes.
Actually, you don't. I think the right Joy-Con is in the actual casing of the back of the
Oh
robot.
yeah, yeah, and then it's just reading the
Yeah,
movements
yeah.
from the poles and stuff. Yeah, the punches.
But not a bad idea. Maybe they'll release a new headset accessory for that, so you can
Yeah,
play it with the robot kit.
I think this is like an appropriate foray into VR for Nintendo.
Yeah, I agree.
I I think uh, what is more telling about this um, for their future is just the fact that they're already experimenting. They have some simpler ideas that might work really well, right?
Mm-hmm.
But by time like they actually have their own version of their headset, and they think it's time that VR comes forefront, like that's like they'll have already been steeped very deep, and they will give us some very good stuff as we expect from Nintendo. So who knows, like how that'll change in the future, like what happens once we get like a Switch that also just has a higher resolution and can do VR pretty well, you know so
Assuming one day we don't just get a dedicated display unit.
no, and that's the other thing, right? Maybe they'll just give us the headset itself and wear this, okay, but you already have your, maybe it's not your Joy Cons. Maybe there's another controller that they release, a newer one that replaces the Joy Cons. Maybe, I don't know, any number of these things. Um, but it certainly is exciting, and this has got me thinking about buying Labo more than anything else, just to have like some of that stuff, like buying the base one, and then like I don't know, me getting one of the expansion kits, right?
I appreciate the
Um,
fact that they're splitting up the SKUs so that you have options as a consumer, and a lot
mhm.
of them, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. So they just have that base price for the main viewer, and then everything else that comes out outside is just a little bit more just here. But I wonder what comes with like just the base of it, you
You
know?
get the blaster and the basic goggles. So I'm guessing whatever games are tied to that. Like
Okay.
what I'm assuming it comes with a game card.
Oh yeah, yeah. The game card would be in that one.
Would that game card feature all of the other software? I'm sure it would have to, because then if you buy the expansions, all you would need then is just the cardboard to actually play the games.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's not a bad setup at all, honestly.
Yeah. No, this is good.
And they also announced it just a mere month before it's going to come out.
Well, that's just good timing, especially for a product like this. Like, they told us they were going to release more Labo kits, and they already have released ones. Like they had the launch ones, and they're like, okay, over time, we're just going to build this.
A vehicle kit.
Um, huh?
They had the vehicle kit too, just recently.
Right, right. So they just keep adding to it because they can, right? And it's probably making them quite a bit of money at this point. Um, yeah, even the way they price it, where they have that like you can buy the complete kit, or you can buy the starter set and then buy the expansions later. So
This is a great option for children too. It's an easy break-in entry point for VR, specifically for kids. Um, this is going to be like the main VR experience for children. I could definitely see kids seeing this on TV and then being like, "Oh, I got a Switch. Mom and Dad, can we buy that?" Mom and dad go
Yeah.
online, see it's only 40 bucks, and like, you know what? Sure, let's buy that. Let's try it out.
Yeah, it's also good because like, the longer this goes on and the more they produce, like some of these other kits are going to get really cheap.
Yeah.
So like at a certain point it's like, oh, maybe the variety kit is like uber cheap, right? And like maybe like 20 bucks. And that's when Logan will be like, okay, that seems like it's pretty worth it. And then I might have some fun with the keyboard or the just the fact that it's a little bug thing like
Oh,
vibrates. It's like
the
a hex bug, except it's just your Joy Cons and cardboard.
operated
So
entirely on HD Rumble.
yeah, so
Um,
lots to love.
yeah, so I think this is a good first start for Nintendo. Hopefully, this isn't their only foray into VR. Maybe they have a
Hmm.
more advanced, more adult-oriented headset that comes out in the future. Maybe alongside a Switch revision or maybe even another system. Who knows?
Yeah.
But this is a good start. It's a good sign. If you want Nintendo to make VR, maybe you should buy this, or at least buy it for your kids.
Yeah. I mean, I said myself, like I'm interested in this, right? I'm very interested in what this could do and what else they're gonna make it compatible with.
What if they
Uh,
add this to Mario Kart?
they would have to make a way for me to strap it to my face.
Well, if they do that, and then they add support for Mario Kart, you already got the Toy-Con wheel and pedal that go along with it. You could have a very complete experience with that.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how they use it in the future, or how again, just where this leads them.
Mm-hmm. And that's where we're gonna leave Labo VR for now, because we really don't have
Goodbye, Labo.
much else, because they have not actually shown us any video of this at all. We don't even know what it looks like in motion.
Nope, we just know that it is a thing and it is coming. So
In the more financial world of Nintendo, Sensor Tower has once again filed some data and have told us that mobile gamers have spent approximately $2.5 billion so far in Pokemon franchise titles, which is a lot of money.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
98% of that total amount has been for Pokemon Go.
Whoa.
$2.45 billion, if I'm reading that right.
Um, I don't know, but that's a lot. Wait, $2.5 billion, right? $2.5 billion overall across the globe.
Yep. And 98% of it comes from Pokemon Go.
Oh, yeah. So like the other 50 million comes from somewhere else, but that's just how. Wow.
The other mobile games.
Right. No, I understand that. 98% of that. Pokemon Go. Talk about a success.
People still like really underestimate Pokemon Go. Cause it's a money maker.
Yeah,
That's a
no
lot of
kidding.
money.
Like think about like making a movie and the movie makes like, $2 billion. Like that's like, oh my God, that's amazing. That's incredible. Like, and that's the peak. This is at 2.5 billion and it's still going and it probably will pick up pace. Cause like this is something people continue to use. Like I'll be getting a new phone here soon. And I was even thinking about this earlier. I was like, if I get a new phone, I can play more Pokemon Go, which I have a really hard time playing on my really bad current phone.
And the weather's getting warmer.
And the weather's getting warmer. Logan's gonna be spending some time outside.
I'm gonna
So
charge up that Pokeball Plus I got and go for some walks.
that's where I'm at. If I can get a Pokeball Plus for cheap, that would be cool too.
Or even if you can find the original one, like the actual Pokemon Go Plus. Honestly, like I have a Pokeball Plus now, so if you want my old one, you can have it.
Oh heck yeah. I'll take it. I'll take you up on that offer.
You'll have to probably get some batteries for it.
It's okay.
I can
It's okay.
recharge mine.
You'll hold me over.
So yeah, this is super cool. 875 million of those dollars comes from the United States, the top earner as far as the total earnings go. And then 29% comes from Japan, $725 million.
Yeah. God, that's so insane.
That's the
People
mobile
spend a
market. That's
lot of
why for
money.
so long that analysts were saying that, consoles were going to get phased out and it's all going to be mobile. That's where all the money's
Well,
at. That's where all the money's at.
I mean, I think a certain part of that is true for sure. But I don't think dedicated games that don't make use of, they just have that upfront paywall. Like that'll always be a thing, right?
Absolutely.
Because who wants to play these games all the time, right? Like the life would be really boring if everything was a mobile game that was free with microtransactions. Like I'd probably not like that very much.
No, and I think that ties really well into the next story from the Wall Street Journal. They recently filed a report. They recently reported that a Nintendo mobile partner complained about Nintendo's stance on mobile gamer spending, and we'll read a little quote here that I find pretty interesting. It says, since 2015, Nintendo has had revenue sharing agreements for smartphone games that it creates with partners like Dina. In some cases, players can spend hundreds or even thousands of dollars trying to win special items. Fearing such behavior will damage Nintendo's brand image, the company has asked its partners to adjust the games so that users won't spend too much, according to people familiar with Nintendo's strategy. Cyber agent officials say Nintendo asked the game maker to adjust the game to avoid excessive spending by users. Nintendo is not interested in making a large amount of revenue from a single smartphone game, one cyber agent official said. If we managed the game alone, we would have made a lot more.
So, I mean, this is one of the reasons I kind of love Nintendo, because even in their dealings, right? So many people would be so focused on just making a bigger profit margin. And Nintendo's not necessarily concerned with just doing that, right? Because they recognize that if they do that, it can come at the cost of the consumer, right? And again, that's not a good image to put off. Like people resent
Yeah.
that,
They're trying
business.
to
So
temper bad spending habits by making things less available.
yeah,
Uh
it's also funny because the creator of you remember Flappy Bird?
oh yeah.
So Flappy Bird is not on the shop anymore. You can't download Flappy Bird anymore, right? You can download a million clones, but you can't download the original Flappy Bird anymore because he took it off because I think he was like disgusted that people were playing it too much. And so he could have just kept doing it, but he decided to like pull that away from people because he thought he was doing like good in the world and
Dream
at the
Drop
cost of like money he could be making from it, right?
Dream Drop said he earned too much money as the primary reason.
He earned, well, even that, it's like, wait, how is that like an issue, right? But he's like, no, no, no. Like I either maybe he just didn't want to deal with like the what would come with having
The
too
ad
much
revenue
money.
was disrupting his small life.
Well, I mean, there's another more selfish reason, but the fact is, like, there's value, in not trying to,
Rip
like
someone off.
manipulate, yeah, or manipulate your audience
Yeah, yeah,
or
yeah.
your user base,
It's like
because there's a
Fire Emblem
breeds a
Heroes. Like that game is famous for being way too generous and putting you in a
Mhm.
position where you wouldn't have to spend money if you want to roll for a few
Oh
characters
yeah,
every
no, it's
day.
really generous,
Yeah.
and it's generates a ton of revenue as well.
Right. They're not completely pulling out the possibility for revenue because obviously they need it to stay afloat,
Yeah, you
but
can't make something free to play and not have some way to monetize it, you know?
They found a model that is more consumer friendly and just less like damaging to people.
Yeah, less invasive. It also makes the actual like experience better because I'm not constantly being like like paywalls aren't being thrown my way for certain things. Like it's less disruptive and people are still spending money on it and that's great. I mean even something like Apex Legends which is very free, but the actual monetization is never too disruptive or annoying or even really like almost all that compelling outside of like do I want this, am I okay with this agreement, do I pay for these Apex packs, do I pay for these cosmetics, um so if it doesn't feel necessary and it doesn't get in the way of gameplay, like that's good monetization.
Specifically in the case of something like Overwatch or Apex Legends, more so in Apex Legends because that game's free from the start.
Right.
It's like, I've probably at this point maybe put in 40 or 50 hours into the game, and I didn't pay for it, so I would feel good about giving the company some money for all the enjoyment I've gotten out of it.
Yeah, I mean, other than the fact that ultimately it's going to EA, but at the same time, EA justifies keeping Respawn open based on like how much revenue they make, right?
Yeah,
That being said, they're doing fine. I mean, I don't know how many people actually pay, like what percentage have actually bought something. But when your user base is over 50 million, it's probably enough.
there was a one guy who bought $500 worth of packs just to get the heirloom because it was guaranteed after like 500 rolls, and he had to
Right.
do all 500 in order for it to work out.
Really?
He did.
That's shady.
I mean, well, we have a mutual friend who managed to pull an heirloom just in a random
Well,
free
I
pack.
guess at the fact that it kind of like limits the rarity, right?
Yeah,
So instead of like, oh, you could get it one every 1,000, but you also could just never get it ever. At the very least, it's guaranteed every 500.
yeah.
But I don't. How much would you have to spend,
I forget how
for
much he did
500?
spend doing that, but he ultimately came out and said, "Yeah, that wasn't worth it."
Yeah, no. See, like that's not why I'm going to purchase Apex packs or anything else in the game skins.
Right.
Like if I do it, it's like I know exactly what I'm getting into, and I'm not. It's not like, oh yeah, I'm looking for that heirloom. Like if the heirloom comes, then I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
cool.
that's great.
But I'm not gonna go too hard for it.
Speaking of going way too hard, Mr. Sakurai is legendary for overworking himself. And over the last week, we have learned, due to a interview he did with Japanese publication Nintendo Dream, that he has pushed himself even harder than we ever could have thought. And I'm going to go ahead and read a segment of this interview. Uh, Sakurai says, "Well, actually, I still had a lot of stomach problems." "You did?" replies the interviewer. "Yeah, a ton." "So what do you do when that sort of thing happens?" "I actually had a case of acute how do you say that?"
Gastroenteritis.
"Thank you. Recently." Sakurai says, "That sounds rough. When you've got symptoms like food poisoning, you definitely have to go to the hospital, right? I've had that situation once or twice before during development. It was like I got food poisoning from some oysters that I didn't eat." "Even though you hadn't eaten any?" laughs the interviewer. Sakurai replies, "It was like my food had come into contact with them or something. But I cooked my food thoroughly. Why did I get sick?" Interviewer says, "So do you take some time off when that happens?" Sakurai replies, "No, I don't. I just get an IV drip and go back to work like normal." The interviewer says, "Are you serious?" And finally he says, "I guess I'm a hard worker?" With a wry laughter afterwards. "I'm a freelancer, so I don't have any strict rules on my time. As long as I can complete the game, I could show up to the office once per week and think it'd be within the realm of forgiveness. But instead, I make sure I come to work every day and write proper daily reports and such. I'm always working, but there's a lot of things that keep me in good spirits." Who is this person?
Is Sakurai really a freelancer?
Yeah, he's
Like,
been a
is he an independent
freelancer.
agent?
He's been a freelancer ever since he left HAL Laboratories. Like when he formed Sora Limited, it was just so that they could handle licensing and paying the employees that came together for the team to make Smash Brothers.
Right.
Well, and Kid Icarus.
Okay, two things. Holy crap. And two, no.
What?
Go take care of I this is like just like I'm not gonna actually take care of myself, right? Like you get to a point you're like, okay, can you like get this like I don't know. Don't do this, okay? Don't do this. Don't just I'm gonna grab an IV drip and then we're good. No, no, get some sleep, go to the doctor, get a checkup, get some exercise.
How does he not have like the nickname the Mad Developer or something like that
I
already?
don't I don't know. I don't know. I
Like,
just
we love Sakurai and we love the games he makes, but really, you can't do this to yourself.
people should not work this hard.
There's not even anyone over him telling him to work. They're
Well,
probably
and
telling him to go home.
I mean, then there's even the fact that like people are more productive. You're only so productive for so many hours, right? And then outside of that, it's really like diminishing returns, right? So, I mean,
He swears he
technically,
goes home by 10 p.m. these days.
well, I mean, if it's an improvement, I'll applaud that,
He said it
you
is.
know. But like there hopefully this is like in the past, right? Like I'm hopefully like this doesn't happen. Like take off an hour earlier. I don't know, take an extra day off in the week, you
He doesn't
know?
even make his employees stay. They can go
Well,
home.
and
They're like, he's
that's
still
great.
there.
Yeah.
Like, I
So,
applaud that kind of level of passion and dedication to your work, but you can't sacrifice your health for it.
yeah,
I'm
I
sure his
mean,
wife's at home being like,
even like
Sakurai, come
even
home.
if it's like the best thing in the world, like he enjoys it, like it's like sweet candy, it's like me and my art, like I'm gonna
He
play
has
music and
to.
I love it. And yeah, obviously, but even then, like I can't just do that all the time and then neglect everything else in my life, right? Like if I'm playing and singing so much music that I'm wearing down my voice, or that I'm just not sleeping like I need to, which is a sad reality of mine right now. But
I mean, Sakurai is like clearly enjoying himself because like he talks about all these super long RPGs that he's still playing on top of doing all of this work, and I don't know how he balances all that.
yeah.
Unless
So I mean,
I know he plays games at work on his lunch break. He's talked about that, but I guess over time that would add up.
yeah, I don't know. I think maybe he feels still a certain responsibility to his creation. And I think for something like this, eventually you just need to be able to let it go, and you'll probably be better off at a little bit of a distance.
I'm
You can still
also
involve yourself, but like like let other people take certain responsibilities.
he's
So
always been the kind of guy that's like, I trust myself the most when it comes to handling the project, but he's let go more and more over time.
right. So
Like
I mean,
with
I hope this is the last game, the last Smash Bros. Game he directs. I really think that as director.
maybe
Um,
take a supervisory role like Miyamoto.
yeah, supervisory or being the producer, taking just like a more like, hey, I'm gonna do less of the hard like coding work and design and nitpicking. Just I'll give you feedback on how I think it feels and what needs to be a little bit better,
Maybe
like an
give him the
executive
option
producer.
to step in and do a little hands-on development to make the tweaks, but not develop the whole thing
Yeah,
alone.
well, work with people to
Yeah.
make those changes as cooperating with those people because they have to get in on that process.
Hmm.
But ultimately, he should work less. So
I have to wonder.
everybody should.
Sakurai has always, had this problem with his work. You hear about the awful development cycle that Melee had, where they developed it in I think 11 months.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a running joke between him and Iwata about seeing Mount Fuji in the morning because they would often just be at the office the whole night and
Yeah.
see it for the sunrise. Um, but and I hate to bring it up, but like I wonder if Iwata's passing had any influence on how Sakurai manages his work life now,
Well, I mean,
because they were good
if
friends. They both worked
if
at
it
HAL.
if it did, I hope it's a good thing.
Yeah,
I hope it's a oh, maybe I should try this whole taking care of myself ordeal. And I mean, it seems any reasonable indication is definitely in that direction, which I think is good. But until so you hear stuff like this and you're like, no, don't do it. Just don't do that to yourself. Oh, why are you falling asleep at the table? Oh, maybe you should sleep at night. Oh, you're constantly tired. Hey, maybe you should eat better, all these other things. It's like, just do a little bit better. It's okay. You can do it.
let your
We can
hands
help.
rest. Get rid of that tendonitis that you gave yourself during Smash 4's
Yeah,
development.
man. Give those hands some love.
You switched
Can't.
to a like a ball mouse. Forget what those are called.
Yeah. I mean, talking about your hands, like just your body in general, like I'm always constantly like thinking about like, how can I be loving to my voice? So if I overuse it, like I sound a little bit raspy right now. This because I sing and I talk a lot in the day, and sometimes I need to stop. And then I do a 2-hour podcast, and I'm just using it that much more. And then I'm spouting off to my brother over Discord while playing a game. So these vocal cords get quite a bit of use and a little bit of abuse as well.
Yeah, you can't overdo it.
Nope. Though I can't remember the last time that like I was in a place where I couldn't perform if I needed to and not feel like my voice was going to fall off, which used to happen quite a bit. I think it's because I'm a better singer. I have better technique. And so I don't wear on my vocal cords the way that I used to. Allows me to do more and podcast more.
Well, speaking of wearing down, uh, people over making the Sonic movie have certainly worn down expectations of that film after some designs for Sonic the Hedgehog in the movie got leaked, and have since been verified to be early designs. So let's talk
Yeah.
about the way this looks a little bit.
Yeah, no, I mean looking more into it, right? Like it looks early.
Yeah,
It doesn't look fleshed out. It doesn't even look like why would they put something that looks like that into a realistic setting, you know?
it doesn't
Like
look
they're
any
just
more realistic than Sonic's actual design.
yeah. So I definitely see it now. I'll admit I had a bit of a reaction when this dropped, and I'm like, it looks bad. And they probably also think it looks bad.
In fact, Sonic the Hedgehog's creator Yuji Naka also said it looks bad right on his Twitter. If a
Yeah.
poor directorial choice becomes a hot topic, then it could continue to damage Sonic's IP. He said he found it shocking and added that the image could have been fan made. And he
Yeah.
also wishes Sonic was wearing gloves.
Yeah. So I think it'll be interesting once the actual movie like drops. We get to see the full visuals, like how much it'll differ, and who will feel like a dummy uh, once they're like, or if there are any people like, who knows? Maybe this Sonic movie is going to be absolutely incredible. For all we know, it might be the best gaming movie to date.
That's what I want
Maybe
to happen.
I mean, honestly, like, yeah, like I would love to have an amazing Sonic movie because I love those games. So who knows? Who knows? We really don't, because there's a lot of details we just don't know. We've
This
seen some
movie is slated.
some official stuff, but it's almost there.
This movie's slated for November, I want to say. And we have yet to see an official trailer.
I think they'll probably talk about it after Detective Pikachu
Yeah, that
comes
would
out.
be a good time because Detective
So
Pikachu is kicking this movie's butt right now in terms of
yeah,
how well it looks. Pikachu could still be bad, and I don't want that to happen, but
yeah, right.
so yeah, this is a little bit unfortunate. It reminded me earlier today that there's also a Monster Hunter movie coming this year.
Oh no, that's the one I have the least like faith
The
in.
fact that we have less faith in that than the Sonic the Hedgehog movie is pitiful.
It's so pitiful because like how hard would it be to adapt like visuals like that, right? It just makes sense. Like
It's
it's
already
already trying to be
tuned to
realistic.
realism, right?
Yeah, and then like okay, but like Pikachu and then like Sonic look like they're gonna do better. So and that being said, again, Monster Hunter could be an incredible film, but
I hope.
I don't have a lot of faith in it.
All I could ask for at this point is that the monsters look dope. If they look dope, I'll be fine. Even if the
And,
movie is hot garbage.
inaccurate. If they don't look like, for some reason, they're like, no, the Rathalos isn't gonna be
If
red.
Rathalos shows up looking like a chicken and, making like pig noises, I'm gonna be a little upset.
Oh man, we'll have a good laugh afterwards, though.
You can't mess up
Like
that kind of
how badly?
iconography.
I don't think they would. I don't think they
Capcom
would.
did the work for you.
Yeah. Oh my god, all those models and animation, like, oh yeah, they probably won't screw it up that bad. And
I
even
hope
some
to
of like the
God.
armor designs were pretty slick.
The
You
armor
know.
looks all right. Honestly, like the main thing about the Monster Hunter movie that I take issue with so far is just the plot or the plot synopsis
Mhm.
we've heard. Like all the props and stuff we've seen look great. I think there was like a jawbone greatsword that was just like a direct rip that we saw an image of. We have the
Yeah.
what is the little slingshot? What are they called again? The slinger
Okay.
from Monster Hunter World.
Oh right. Yeah. Yeah.
And it was basically a one-to-one design. It had the guild symbol on it, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
It hasn't been that long since we played Monster Hunter World.
No, but I kind of lost track. I was like trying to balance like we're Sonic, a Monster Hunter, and then I kind of got lost in it. And they're like, wait, Slinger, Monster Hunter. Okay, I'm back. So,
Yeah, we've got a lot of
uh,
video game movies coming out this year. Honestly, like we have what, at least three that I can think of between Sonic, Pikachu, and Monster Hunter.
that's all this year.
And they're all things I love, and that's very frightening.
Yeah, I feel pretty confident about Detective Pikachu at this point,
Me too.
though. So, I mean, at least there's that. I'm like, I think I'm going to go to this and I think I'll probably enjoy it. And that's literally all I'm asking.
Comes out
That's
right after
literally all I'm
Avengers.
asking.
Mwah, can't wait.
So, I mean, we got the visuals out of the way. The visuals look fantastic,
Absolutely.
right? And so, I mean, that just speaks like, so I think what'll be really telling with Sonic is when
We see it
we
in
get the
motion.
visuals and we see it in motion and we hear the voice acting and we're like, well, here's what we actually have to judge, you know.
I have to wonder if they shot themselves in the foot by not waiting until they had like a full teaser to show. Like if we got to see Sonic for the first time in motion rather than these relatively unlikable stills, the reaction may have been different.
No, I agree. I think this was probably a poor rollout, right?
You remember like the way people reacted to Detective Pikachu? It was like right down the middle. Oh, this is awful. Oh, this is fantastic. And now it's basically all, oh, this is fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, really, the truth of the narrative kind of came out because that movie visually looks fantastic. Like you
Yeah,
see Pikachu, and you're like, oh my god,
I want to
because they
hug
just like
that.
we heard it was happening. There's like there's gonna be a Detective Pikachu movie, right? And then the first actual thing we saw outside of just like maybe some lettering is here's Pikachu in motion with voice acting and then decide for yourself. And here's where we're at, you know?
Yeah. There's a lot of hype behind it. Ryan Reynolds is getting in on some of the marketing and having some fun with it. Uh, I just hope Sonic gets the same treatment, you know?
Yeah, and I hope it's a significant improvement over this one
It's
image.
just kind of disheartening when you hear that the creator of Sonic the Hedgehog is also displeased. Like, did they consult him on the design? How did it all go
Well,
down?
yeah, I mean it again, like we don't know how much it's changed since
Since
this.
this, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean maybe part of it is really just like, wait, that shouldn't have gotten out because it's not really an accurate representation of what's the final product is going to be. Like this would be one of those things where okay, the movie comes out and then that you release a bunch of like the concept artwork. Like here's where we were at. Like and then it'd be interesting. But here it's just like, oh God, is this what we're dealing with? And chances are probably not. And that's an encouraging thing. Though at the same point, if this is the starting point, where did they end up?
Uh,
So I can really go either way.
Yuji Naka even retweeted a picture of Sonic that he thought was more fitting, and I'll go ahead and send that to you. I also posted it in the chat for those listening right now. This is more what Yuji Naka would have been into, and it honestly, I'm kind of into it myself. Like, it's kind of following that Detective Pikachu model where you retain the shape, the silhouette of the creature, and then
Hmm.
you fill in the blanks
Yeah, no, I think yeah they could have definitely leaned on the side of he's gonna look like Sonic.
with
You
fur.
know, right? Like they don't like I don't people don't really like seeing it outside of that context. And sometimes like it depends. Like obviously for a character like Mario or for Sonic, like yeah, it's really iconic the actual shape. And obviously that's true with Pokemon as well. And they were able
Hmm.
to find that like that balance, you know, that really worked. And so like right now, I mean, I think this leans a little too far into just Sonic, right? But I think there are certainly like I would prefer this over like what's on the left. And the left isn't even like I mean, is that another leak or is that just a mock-up, you
When it
know?
first came out, it was suggested it was a leak from a coming teaser. Cannot verify whether that's true or not.
Yeah. So I think it'll be
One of the
I don't
jarring
know.
things, I think, honestly, is his eyes. If they had gone
Oh,
for the classic Sonic eyes, he wouldn't have that much forehead space, and I think he'd look a little bit better.
oh right.
Uh, yeah, but
Yeah, I think
oof.
they leaned too much into what does a real hedgehog look like?
Yeah,
You
that was the
know?
wrong approach to this, I think.
So I mean, even if this is a mock or it's just fan made, you know, like whoever did this, like I feel like they're missing the point, you know.
Hmm.
So
At the very
who?
least, even if Sonic's design isn't great, they can still like pay tribute to the Sonic series well, just in the context of the movie itself.
Mhm.
Uh, that remains to be seen. Still, we
Yeah,
haven't even seen what
especially
Eggman looks like.
especially if there's like a cover of like the Sonic X theme song.
Gotta go fast.
So just
Uh,
like have some like band in the background playing it at some point.
that'd be funny. I'd be into that. But yeah, that's kind of what we're feeling with Sonic right now. Hopefully, we get an actual teaser trailer soon. They are playing this out way too long, and that is seemingly starting to hurt them pretty bad. Uh, Moving on, just a quick little footnote here. EA will not be holding a press conference at E3 2019, and I can hear the echo chamber of nobody caring. Because does anyone ever enjoy EA's press conferences? Like,
No, they're
legitimately.
usually I mean, there's some things sometimes that are interesting, but like not always like, oh, I have to be there to see it first,
Yeah.
right? Because it's a lot of like, oh, here's a really mediocre AAA title that's coming out to your the store shelves pretty soon, and you might want to buy it. And we also will probably riddle it with microtransactions and ruin wonderful things like Star Wars Battlefront.
I mean, they're still doing their EA Play thing. and that'll be the week of E3 as well, or the week before E3. So it's not
Yeah.
like they're completely absent like Sony. So yeah, it's kind of interesting seeing E3 kind of whittle down the way it has been. We had
Yeah.
PlayStation not showing up, EA is not doing a press conference now. So it's really just Nintendo and Microsoft having it out. Even though they've been pretty friendly, it would be really funny if Nintendo and Microsoft finally announced whatever collaborations they've been working on and just talk about that at E3 the whole time.
Hmm.
Like, yeah, we're just here sharing the stage, shaking hands. There's not even any competition this year. We're just all together.
Yeah.
But yeah, certainly a strange outcome. But enough of that. Capcom has said something interesting in regards to Devil May Cry 5 and Nintendo Switch. Basically, it was hey, buy Dragon's Dogma and we'll put it on there.
I have really mixed feelings about this.
Me too.
And I think it comes down to motivations and where this message is coming from. I don't know who is well one
It was the game
uh
director of DMC5.
well in particular the publication, My Nintendo News has paraphrased it, right? And certainly, like the conversation that happened and the quote here, we started development of DMC5 while we didn't have the dev kits of the Switch. Because of that, we concentrated on PS4, Xbox One, and PC version. But if Dragon Dogma or Horizons,
Arisen.
okay, sells well on Switch, then we might consider porting DMC5, says game director. See, and my objection would be is if they are using this to sell Dragon's Dogma, right? I
Yeah.
don't think that's what's happening,
No.
but the actual like title of the article kind of had me leaning towards that, and I was like, I don't think like that. Like, it's understandable the logic, like, oh, if this game proves to sell well enough, then we can really justify dedicating resources to this other game to port that as well. um so I think maybe that's just what I object to. I would love to live in a world, and I think it's stupid that they just don't do it already, because it would probably sell. Like, if it doesn't sell on the Switch just on its own merits, like, people like it's like, are you trying just to get people to play, Dragon's Dogma? Because I'm not gonna buy Dragon's Dogma based on the fact that you might port another game. Like, that feels exploitative to me,
It is.
especially if like you buy a product based on this pretense and then that doesn't happen. Like, that's shady, and that's, kind of
At the
breaks
very
trust.
least, like if they were saying this about a Devil May Cry port, being like, "Hey, buy the Devil May Cry collection on Switch, and we'll think about putting DMC5 on there as well." That makes a little bit more sense and doesn't feel as exploitative because it's from the same series. In this case, they're just like, "Hey, go buy this completely unrelated game that you might not care about at all to get the game you do want on Switch."
Right. So, so again, and the question is, I maybe they didn't mean this. They were just talking about, maybe like, oh, can we see, Devil May Cry 5 on the Switch, right? And they're like, well, here's where we were at, and like the people up top, they want to see that this game on the Switch sells well.
Hmm.
So if that sells well, then like, we can probably justify it to the publisher, and so maybe that's where the conversation was at, which I think is fine. It's just, again, it's sad that we live in a world where they can't just make this decision outright, where they're like, no, duh, like, and maybe they're also trying to see how well Devil May Cry does in the first place,
I think that
um,
ship has sailed. I think we're okay as far as that goes.
Right. So it's like, man, could we sell this on the Switch? Chances are you probably could. You probably could. Especially if they launch at the same time, And obviously it wasn't the case here because they didn't even have the dev kits when they were developing it.
Right. And it's
But
running on RE engine, which we don't know if the Switch could even support yet.
right.
Resident Evil 7, they did the cloud-based version that you could play in Japan.
Hmm.
And I assume that's the form it would take here for Devil May Cry 5, unless they do actually put the time in to try and get it working,
Well, I think maybe Japan would get Devil May Cry 5
and then
on the
not
Switch in
us.
that, and then not us,
Yeah,
right? So
that's kind of the way I see it going as of right now.
Capcom's just gonna have to make like a streaming service that they can sell their games as a bulk, $5 a month or something like. I don't know.
Rather
Um,
than per game.
yeah, man, just make a whole service and just throw them all up there and monetize it long term. Like I'll invest in that, especially if I just have a Switch. Man, if I have a Switch and I could just do that and just play all these amazing games just over Wi-Fi, like I'll do that.
Yeah, no, I don't have any problem with that at all.
So it also depends on your bandwidth, right? Because you're probably going to need a lot larger of a bandwidth, and so maybe they don't want to feel like they have to make that investment to get that functioning right everywhere else. Because I know there's also some infrastructure stuff that they would have to do.
Mm-hmm. Uh, but hopefully, I'm hoping that this quote isn't super accurate. I know it was translated from another language, and certainly intent can get lost in that.
Right.
But for right now, we just have to take it for what it is,
Yeah. Um,
or what
and
we think it is, rather.
here's the other thing is like this kind of thing has been said before by studios, and
Yeah,
never
this
really
is
thought
not
about it.
the first time.
Yeah. So I've never really thought about it like this before, but that's where I'm at.
It's
I'm
also
like,
not the first time we've heard it from Capcom specifically. Like
yeah.
when Ultra Street Fighter 2 came out, they're like, "Hey, if you want us to support the system, you should probably buy this game."
Yeah, it shouldn't be about that. It should be we make
I
good
would
games, so you should buy them,
I would give
right?
them a little bit more credit in the case of Street Fighter 2, because at one, that is a good game, and two, like in their minds, they're still taking a risk because Nintendo had previously not done super well with their hardware, and Switch was pretty
Mhm.
new at the time.
Right, but now that ship has sailed. Like, if you're
Absolutely.
like, can we put it on the Switch, and do we want to dedicate the resources? Because we would probably make enough money. I mean, even like Skyrim's on the Switch, and I'm pretty sure it's sold over 1 million. So for porting, what, an 11, 12-year old? No, when did that come out?
It's 8
Maybe
years
it's like
old.
8 years old. Okay, but it's getting up there, right? Porting this old game, and it works fine on the Switch, and they can sell 1 million copies at $60 a pop.
Mhm.
They sold it for
Well,
$60, and people bought it.
it was based on like the new special version or special edition, wasn't it?
Well, kind of. Like there was a mix of it. There was some like improvements, but not like all the improvements that you got with the special edition, right?
Mhm.
So they kind of did like this halfway, and that's okay.
It's better than just giving us the original version.
Yeah, no, that's certainly true. Give you a little extra content with the the Zelda sword and shield and costume. Do they have a costume or is it just a sword and shield?
It was just the Master Sword and Shield. No, it was a
Okay.
costume. There was a Breath of
Okay.
the Wild tunic.
Yeah, yep. So I mean, again, but they still sold it for $60. You could buy that for 20.
They added gyro controls. I'll spend an extra $3 for that.
Oh yeah, no, that's pretty good. But I mean, again, like if you want to spend the $60, like that's your decision to make. I wouldn't spend it. I know people who did spend it. Um, and some people's paid $60 when it came out like 8 years ago.
Some
So
people have spent $60 on it on every system it's come out for.
yeah, right.
uh,
So
but I think Capcom is kind of misstepping here, assuming this quote is accurate. If it's not, then disregard literally everything we've said.
yeah, there's a
Um,
lot of context missing, and that's some pretty important context.
I want to close out the show by talking about 3DS, and that's because both Kirby's Extra Epic Yarn and the most recent Etrian Odyssey game have released. And now the future of 3DS is blank. Completely
It's
blank.
really blank.
I don't know of a
Yeah,
single 3DS game coming out.
I mean, did they? So they didn't even touch on 3DS during the last direct.
The last two directs in a row.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what else. Like, I mean, that's it. Like, we're really uncertain if anything else will come out. Maybe I anticipate, maybe like one or two more ports at the very least.
If you're currently listening in the chat and you know of any 3DS games coming out, please let me know.
And in particular, first party, because there might be some third parties still developing for certain. But
Kirby was the last first party game
okay,
that I'm aware of. Dream Drop says Persona Q2 in the West, and that's about where my future 3DS knowledge ends. There is that.
yeah,
But that game's technically out in Japan already, so I wouldn't consider it new.
yeah,
Just a localization. Yeah, so Nintendo has been pretty adamant in saying over and over and over again that they're going to continue to support 3DS. So where are we with it?
Well, they had all those 2DSs that they manufactured to sell because they weren't sure if the Switch was going to take off, but then it did. And so their fallback plan of just extending the life of the 3DS is kind of being laid to rest. Like that's kind of how I view it. And maybe even like the evolution of what their mobile only option is going to be in the future, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we don't even know if the 3DS is even going to get a successor, or if it does, is it going to look anything like it, or is it just going to be more akin to like a mini Switch? There's a lot of questions.
They
A
can
lot of
still
questions.
do their ever legendary 3-pillar system, but just having 3 different pillars of the Switch instead. Consolidate development to one platform, but offer 3 different SKUs that cater to different markets.
Yeah, I think we could get a smaller Switch with a smaller screen, still 720p, not too small, and maybe some like maybe they have adjustments for size of like HUD and text,
For
uh,
previously released games.
yeah, or something like that. If they
Mm-hmm.
need it, right?
Yeah.
And then maybe a regular size Switch. Maybe it's a little bit larger and it's got an up-res screen. So maybe we're not dealing with 720. Maybe we're dealing with 1080.
If we can get up to a 1080 screen, eliminate all of the black space that's currently left on the current Switch model on this on the screen panel. If we can get that screen to extend to literally to the edges, then they don't need to make new Joy Cons. It can stay the same size, but you get more screen on the same size
Yeah.
unit. Yeah, you up-res it 1080p and maybe put some, I would hope, some more horsepower in there.
Yeah, I mean, at that point you would have to.
If we can get Breath of the Wild to 1080p 60 FPS, I think that's my perfect world.
Give me that upgrade. And then build the next Zelda with that power in mind.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what they're doing, because I mean, it seems a lot of the times there's always a few projects they have in mind when they're building and they're designing like their next piece of hardware.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, how is this going to get used? Which I think is a great way of doing it. I think that's one of the things that makes Nintendo like the most unique, and obviously a little bit of some of these other companies as well, but in particular Nintendo, because they're just like, okay, what would we want to do with it, right?
Yeah.
And so they build accordingly. And so I think the follow up to Breath of the Wild will shape the upgraded Switch. I think that's what'll happen.
I wouldn't be surprised. Didn't Super Mario Odyssey influence some of the designs of the Switch, I want to say?
I would imagine so. I mean, even like with the form factor, they were like, okay, how do we make this game so that it would be enjoyable as like a mobile experience,
Mm-hmm.
So it goes both ways. But certainly maybe in terms of the horsepower and what they were able to get away with, they're like, how much do we want to push these visuals, and then how much are we dedicating resources to other things, and then also like how strong do we want this device to be, because that'll factor into cost and how much we're selling it for,
I know,
so
they developed the Switch alongside NVIDIA, and the Tegra X1 is currently the chip powering the Switch, or I guess a modified version of it.
mhm.
And the Tegra X2 came out right around when the Switch launched.
Right.
So that's a little over 2 years now, and so that honestly gives Nvidia and Nintendo enough time to maybe co-develop a modified version of the Tegra X2, or maybe even a proprietary uh, chip altogether to put inside the system.
Right. Yeah. Make it backwards compatible with everything. Give developers the option to, modify their games accordingly and update,
Like, I'm not
Uh,
asking for 4K. I just want 1080p, 60 FPS in the majority of the games they've released. If we can get that, I'd be fine.
yeah.
Would I like 4K? I have a 4K TV, and yes, I would like 4K, but I don't need it right now.
Yeah. No, I mean, we've had this discussion before, even getting to something like that, like what's after that, you
There are
know?
8K TVs launching this year.
How many people are actually going to use them or buy them? Even as a 4K, like
If that
uh,
brings the
do
price of 4K
people
TVs down, like, I'm not against it.
No, I mean it's not going to bring the price of 4K TVs down.
But
What's
they've
going to
already
bring the
come down.
price of well, yeah, but not because of 8K TVs. It's because more people are buying them and they're producing more of them, right? So it just brings the overall cost down when you can manufacture more, right?
Considering upgrading to a 75-inch 4K screen.
Ooh, how
Yeah.
big is that? Oh,
I think I could only get away with maybe. I have a TCL Roku TV, as you know, and they're
hmm,
releasing brand new models this year. Uh,
yeah,
4K HDR, and they are thinking about getting up to like 95 inches in size.
yeah. I mean,
For
that's
4K, that's
that's
kind of awesome.
yeah, for 4K. And then I mean that at that point, that's when you're gonna start to see some pixelation. And then that's when you would go to the 8K, right?
Yeah,
I mean, that's really where it makes sense is if you just get bigger and bigger. Like a 55 inch from like your couch, that's all you'll ever need. Like
55 inch
unless you're
from my
going,
couch in 4K, I can't see any pixels from where I
yeah.
sit.
Like it's the saturation at that distance is too high for the human eye to even like remotely
For for
like
some of my 4K
recognize.
games, like I have a few games that are 1440p, like Horizon Zero Dawn, I think is 1440. But for some of my native 4K stuff, like some of my movies, I can get super close to the TV and still not see anything.
Yeah. So I mean, you really just have to get bigger, So for larger screens, it makes sense. 8K, 16K. But for home screens, 55 inches, 4K. Like I think that's what it's gonna be. It's not like in the future, it's not gonna be like, okay, do you want the highest resolution? You're like, no, 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 just a resolution that makes sense, right? Here's my usage. Do
Yeah.
I need anything over this? No. Then what's the point? Just get a 4K. You're fine. You don't need the 8K. You don't need the 16K. So
Yeah, so what I'm asking for, now that we've switched gears a little bit, I'm asking switch. I'm asking for a 75-inch 4K Switch. That's what I want. No, no.
yeah, you'll just hold it like this. Just have to like hit the joystick to get it to move because you can
You
hardly reach it.
you have to have
And you're
two
kicking
people,
the
one
screen.
person on each side with controlling one Joy-Con.
It's the new definition of cooperative gaming.
Asymmetrical gameplay.
You just throw the Joy Cons on the ground, and two people are pressing buttons and physically moving the joystick, and then another two people are on the ends, like pushing in the bumper and the trigger.
That's gonna be the new Breath of the Wild speed run,
It'd be amazing.
giant Joy-Con edition.
Uber cooperative, just to orchestrate it.
Yeah. But yeah, tech is evolving, so I'd like to kind of see the Switch evolve with it. I mean, that said, what they released in 2017 was a perfectly good console, a very exciting prospect, and it's still exciting.
Yeah, yeah, I've had it for over 2 years, and I'm still glad that I have it. So, and I've put definitely over 1,000 hours into it. So that's a good spend of my $400 plus at this point that I spent on it.
I think that's going to wrap up the Nintendo Stuff podcast for this week. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you want to listen to this show on a frequent basis, we record it live almost every Friday night at 7 p.m. Central Time, except for cases like the last 2 weeks in a row where that didn't happen.
Yeah, and also soon enough we'll start uploading these again to the podcasting services. So you should definitely subscribe to us on whatever podcasting service you use. Just so in the near future you can just get us there as well.
Don't forget to drop us a 5-star rating so that people can help, or so that people can find the show, because we want more of you to enjoy it. Definitely join the Discord if you want to get all the cool, quick updates on when we're going to delay the show again.
All the Discord.
You can also have conversations with us about pretty much whatever you want. Find matches to play some online games with all the people in there, including ourselves. If you want to talk to me more specifically, you can get on Twitter at BabaBabs. You can get on Twitter for Logan at LoggyDoves, and you can find us as a collective at Breakroom Arcade. If you're new here, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. We'd love to have you. And we are currently streaming to Twitch as well as YouTube. So if you want to follow us over on our Twitch channel, we're almost to 50 followers, so we can qualify for affiliate status and really start making the moves over there on Twitch. Yeah, so thank you guys so much for supporting us everywhere and with everything we do. We love you guys. Mwah, mwah, kisses, kisses, and hugs, because hugs are warm and inviting.
Yeah.
So thank you guys once again. We will see you Friday. We have a breakdown podcast to do. We'll have to talk about that.
Oh yeah.
One thing I want to announce. We will be doing a Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time multi-world randomizer. Myself, Paul, Logan, and our friend Josiah, all 4 of us will team up and play Ocarina of Time all together at the same time and try and get that hot win on Ganondorf.
It's so exciting that I'm not sure how it's going to actually play out.
You've never even beaten Ocarina of Time.
I've never even beat Ocarina of Time. I might have to beat it before this.
I mean, we'll all be playing at the same time. We can help each other out.
I also need to beat Majora's Mask 3D, which I have on my 3DS, but I haven't touched my 3DS in literal months.
I touched my 3DS on Sunday so that I could, Saturday, so that I could transfer my 3DS save data of Monster Hunter to my Switch.
Yeah. Well, that being said, I really want to play some games.
All right, Logan wants to play some games. So we're going to wrap up the show here. Thanks again for watching. Don't break your backs. Breaking the games. But for now, break time is over.
And stream Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate!
What he said.